Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Wow, election day. Can you feel the electricity in the air? I don't know. I kind of felt it last night, but I don't feel it at the moment. Lost it. Something happened. I think Asher adjusted. He was in here yesterday. I think he adjusted my armrests. Too high. All right, charts. So here we have ZN on the downside this morning, but still relatively constrained and within yesterday's range. So it looks like that the market's not ready to do anything until we get election results. I don't know, this thing is coiled like a spring. Like, they're expecting Donald Trump to win, but if he wins, do we still get more selling and break this low over here? Could be. Here's the S&P 500. And they're still kind of just right there in the range, kind of towards the bottom of the range, though. Oil looking, okay. I was actually expecting a little bit more movement from oil than that overnight from the headlines that I read because, you know, the Israelis were talking about preemptive strikes and like that Iran might even attack on election day and all sorts of crazy things like that. So, make sure you're buckled in, huh? Gold and silver still just kind of, you know, going sideways after that big pullback they had. Kappa. Okay, two good days of good copper movement. So good tight consolidation and uptrend. I'm liking it. Okay, Japanese yen still doing good. I like this. You know, I don't want to you know, I want to see the Japanese yen rise a little bit, but not like a lot. And so a slow and steady rise sideways, that's great. The Japanese yen moving up too much or down too much is bad for the markets. So at least right now. And then we've got Bitcoin. Bitcoin coming all the way back to 6,800, but then maybe finding a little bit of a pullback. So, good morning, A. Paul. 007, you've been here every day for like what, past two or 3 weeks. Thank you for being such a dedicated viewer. Let's talk about the election. Let's see here. So there's a map somewhere. Let me see if I can find this. I've seen other people using this map, but I haven't pulled it up myself. Let's see if I can find it. I saw a map that was basically like what time the polls close. Here we go. Poll election closing times. All times are Eastern time. So 6 p.m. Eastern time, there are a few. 7 p.m. South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. And then let's see here is PA is 8:30. So 8:30 Eastern time when we get the is when we will get exit poll numbers from Pennsylvania. And that's probably when you're likely to see a lot of volatility come into the markets. Then, you know, every time period after that, you're likely to see like some movement. So, what's this one that closes at 12 a.m. Eastern time? Oh, Alaska. Let's see. I have a hard time telling the difference between that color on Alaska and North Carolina. I bet if they were next to each other, I could tell. But same with these two. Is this one red and this one's green? They're too small for me to really tell. It looks like this one is the red. No, these ones must be the 9 p.m. So what's these ones? I can't really tell. All right. Well, anyways. That's what you're looking at today. I will not be with you. I am watching the kids, apparently. My wife is working until pretty late. Plus, there's a hockey game. We want to watch the hockey game. But, so that's your game plan for tonight. The only other thing that I would say is that, the candidates, I think that they've done everything that they can or screwed up everything that they can in Kamala Harris's case, right? Donald Trump has run about the best campaign that he possibly could. Kamala Harris has run about the worst campaign that she possibly could. It's still close, or at least the polling still suggests that it's close. So, and the way that the campaigns are acting, don't be fooled, guys. Don't be fooled, because you're going to see, like, especially on Reddit, all these people saying, oh, Donald Trump was worried. And then on the conservative side, you'll see all these stories about how Kamala Harris is worried and all of this stuff. But what I'm actually seeing from the campaigns and the narratives that they're putting out and everything else, it's close. It's going to be close, and turnout is going to matter big time. So people need to show up to vote. Get people out to vote for your candidate, because that's going to be the difference probably. Yeah, polls. Well, I mean, I think that polls do mean stuff. This whole thing is like, do polls and information that one candidate is winning or the other, does it really suppress? Does it really suppress the vote? Like people don't come out to vote for that person if they know that they're going to lose and that sort of a thing. I'm just not convinced that it does. I've never seen any evidence that it does. Like maybe in an election where it's really, really obvious that one candidate is just terrible and isn't going to win. And the electoral college is really one-sided and all of this sort of stuff. But in an election where all of the polling and everything says that it's close, I just don't see how, saying Kamala Harris is going to win or Donald Trump is going to win really suppresses the vote. Who wins? We don't know yet. So that's, I don't know. It's just anytime that you go to, or anytime that I see a thread on Reddit in particular about a poll, and all of the comments are, it doesn't matter, go out and vote. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to go and vote. I want to know what the poll means to try and predict it. It just drives me crazy. Really don't think that commenting, go vote anyways, makes a difference, guys. I really don't. Not to pile on you, Obsidian. You're a good guy. Thoughts on places saying it may take a week to count votes? I don't think so. So, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Nevada in particular all said that it could take, 5 to 10 days to know their result because of mail-in voting and so forth. But then at the last second, in both Georgia and Pennsylvania, from my recollection, there was a state court case that basically said that they cannot count things after Election Day. That they can't count mail-in votes that come in after Election Day. And they can't count mail-in votes that aren't postmarked correctly or don't have a date on them correctly. So I think that means that this whole we're not going to know for 10 days is not likely. But I think there's a pretty good chance that it will be close enough that we won't know the result when we go to sleep, especially for you guys on the East Coast. Maybe one side runs the tables, I got to say. there, people are like really misinterpreting data and everything, and so from what I've seen, we don't really know what the situation is, because the election day turnout is going to be such a major factor of it. All of the stuff like the early voting and everything, like they're over extrapolating what you can tell from early voting, right? But once we get the exit polling, that'll give you a pretty good idea, right? So Pennsylvania is probably going to be close, though. Okay, Pennsylvania is probably going to be close, but if it's not, and the exit polling shows like maybe the exit polling comes out and it shows that just like tons and tons of men showed up that they weren't expecting, right? Then Donald Trump's going to run away with it and it's over, and they're going to call it that night. And it could be the same way around for Kamala Harris. Like if the polls come out and women came out, or there was like a really big turnover vote or crossover votes, meaning a lot of Republicans came out and they voted for Kamala Harris, even though there's like no polling that suggests that that's going to happen. But that's what the liberals think is going to happen. Then, you know, they'll call it that night for Kamala Harris. So I don't think that we will have a result, but there's maybe a 30-40% chance that we do get a result tonight, that we will know tonight. Okay. Probabilities support Donald Trump winning, but I'm not putting money on it. I think it's too uncertain. It's too uncertain. Again, the election day turnout is really what's going to determine this race. I think it's close enough that turnout in Pennsylvania is going to be the difference. And we have no clue what that's going to be. So my ability to predict it is very limited. Now, there is one other thing that I should note, though. Okay, because again, I'm not gonna be streaming tonight. I'm watching the kids. Maybe something happens, my parents come over, they watch the kids or something like that. But I am not planning on streaming on election night, which maybe I should, because that's a good opportunity to pick up new people. But it's okay. We don't need to worry about it. The Republicans are extremely likely to hold the Senate. It's something like a 90% chance right now in the probabilities that Republicans hold the Senate after all of this. They are slightly favored to take the House. Okay. So if Kamala Harris wins, there's a really good chance that she wins with the Republican Senate. Versus if Donald Trump wins, he's probably going to have a pretty comfortable lead in the House and in the Senate. So he will control all three. So a Trump presidency is probably a little bit more significant than a Harris presidency. Which is to say, Donald Trump has a greater opportunity to actually pass meaningful legislation than Kamala Harris does. Okay. See, Amen is just saying things to troll. Now, girls and women's will make Harris win. We'll see what the turnout is. I will make one prediction on this. Okay. Here's my one prediction on this. If Kamala Harris wins, and it's because of the female vote, I think that people will be so sick of her presidency and the way the government is run by the end of her presidency that you will not get another female president for a really, really long time. I probably shouldn't say that. It would be people that will say, but it has nothing to do with women. It's Kamala Harris. She's going to make them look so bad. I have to say, man, it is the worst run campaign I have ever seen in presidential politics, just by a long shot. That she is in this race is just absolutely stunning to me. And it kind of seems like that it's demographics that are keeping her in this. Republicans do kind of have a demographics problem, and unless people turn away from start to realize that the abortion issue doesn't matter anymore. And you might see a lot of politicians and government start to really, really strongly cater to women. And I think that people will get sick of it. Even women will get sick of it really quickly. I think that a government that caters primarily to women is kind of annoying and brings a lot of problems. And I don't think that you can go down that path for very long before it flips around. It's just like with what I said last time around, though, right? The thing that I said last time around is like, if Joe Biden wins, a Joe Biden presidency is going to be so bad that, you know, it's going to flip back around quickly. And it seems to me that it is, you know. Now, I've kind of been planning a video, like, what actually happens and doesn't happen in a Trump or a Kamala Harris presidency. I'm going to wait until we have an election result to talk about that stuff. Not being biased for my conservative values and not being sexist, but she just doesn't have the characteristics of a leader. I've seen female politicians that have those traits, but Kamala has none. Yes, exactly. That's exactly it, Obsidian. And the issue is that she's not a leader. She's a panderer. And to some extent, Donald Trump is a panderer. He panders to the electorate like hardcore. He's really good at it. Okay, but he like led the discussion. He took the discussion in a certain way, and as president, he took the discussion in certain directions. He was a leader. He was somebody that was like, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this. Kamala Harris is not. Kamala Harris is like being led very much by her team, and her team has no clue what they're doing, because normally the team gets refined and everything in the primary process. And since she didn't have to go through that, that's why I think that she's ended up being running such a terrible campaign, is that she didn't have to go through the primaries. If there was a primary, probably wouldn't be Harris, right? Probably wouldn't be Harris if she had to go through a primary. I think that that's why she's so bad. What does the data... Oh, are you talking about the data pipe? The data pipe? Okay, so the data pipe... Yes. So I gave the beta version of our indicator suite. I think we're done talking about the election, so I think it's a good time to talk about this. So I'm glad you asked the question, D. Okay, so the data pipe is for people that want to save everything and then reconstruct and manipulate the data in Python. So if you're not a programmer and you're not planning on, like, you know, taking all of your data into Python and doing crazy analytics with it and everything, don't worry about it. Okay. But basically what it does is it will export data to a spreadsheet, a CSV file that is for every event that NinjaTrader receives. Every market depth event and every market data event. Saves all of it. So then you could do things like all of my indicators that I have here in NinjaTrader. You could take that data and reconstruct them in Python and then do machine learning on Python. That's what the data pipe is for. So that's how I've been saving all of my level 2 for the past year or whatever. I never put it in there because I'm kind of like, I don't want to support it. You know, like, it works, it does the thing, but then people are going to be like, oh, what do I do with it after that? Can you help me with it after that? And you probably don't have enough time to help you. You're on your own if you're going down that route. But people were asking for it. There are some programmers that want to work with it, so that's why that's in there. Okay, but the big change in the update is primarily that all of the level 2 indicators are now backtestable. There was, yeah, belligerence says is a very valuable data set. It really is. Like, to buy that kind of data would be like tens of thousands of dollars. So just warning you though, it can be like half a gig per day. Like, I only record So one of the things is in the data pipe, there's like a time you can say only capture data during this time period is what the times are in it. And even when I only have it set for like the 3 hours that we're streaming, it will be like half a gig sometimes. It actually varies very wildly, but like on a really busy day, like a non-farms day, it's like half a gig. So, if you have like a 20 terabyte hard drive, then you're probably okay. But otherwise, wouldn't mess with it. I really enjoy Python, but I should get my act together and learn C++. I mean, if you have a real use case for it, like, I think if you really wanted to write a really performant trading application, like you're doing high frequency trading or something like that, that would be a good reason to learn C++. If you were going to make video games, that would be a pretty good reason to use C++. But otherwise, yeah, you're looking to get into HFT. Well, and then the other side of it is that I'm not sure that the difference in execution time between C++ and something like maybe between C++ and Python, but between C++ and something else, I don't know if a retail trader can really make much of that difference. That would really be something for like a large institution where they're measuring things in microseconds. You know what I mean? At the very least, you would want to be like co-located, right? Goldman Sachs, all their interviews require Java? Well, the last one that I did was Java, but I don't think that it had to be that way. I think that I could have said, oh, let's do it in this. When I was at Goldman, they had everything, man. The trading systems were C++. In fact, the trading systems had, not only were they C++, there were some modules that were written in assembly. And there was a lot of modules where they were doing C and they were doing loop unrolling in C was some of the things I remember seeing. So for those big institutions, I feel like you end up using every language because it's just like what is well suited for the task. If you want to do like machine learning stuff, like for me, I'm probably not going to do high frequency trading. For me, it's more likely what I'm going to use it for is to understand the market better and to inform my discretionary trading and not necessarily to create an automated strategy. So for that case, Python is really great because, Python is has the best data science tools right now. It's just what all of the data science people decided to use and yada, yada, yada. I think the only people in the industry that really have like a strange esoteric choice, like understanding this language might help you get hired at that place, is Jane Street with Julia. For some reason, Jane Street likes to use Julia, which is a language built specifically for data science, similar to R, but not as popular as R. For the regular algo trader, Python is more than enough. I run most of my algos on Python. Where it matters is if execution makes or breaks your edge to favor C++. Don't be obsessed with one language. Yeah. Well, it depends on what works for you. I mean, the thing that's interesting in the development of languages. Can I get on my soapbox now? The use cases haven't really changed a whole lot. Like, if you want to make like a really performant desktop, like if I'm going to make a digital audio workstation or a video editing platform or a video game, I'm probably going to use C++. There is a case for Rust. But so far, from what I've seen, making any kind of a GUI in Rust is a real pain in the butt. So Rust is probably better suited for, like, I'm developing a command line app or a server app that has significant memory and or security concerns. Then Rust makes more sense. But otherwise, it's like C++, right? And then what happened was, like, everything else moved to web. Like, everything is a web application now. Now, the weird thing about that, and the soapbox part of this, is that people still just kind of use whatever they want for their backend. There have been some languages, like Golang in particular, was really built to create efficient and effective backends. And I don't understand why anybody would want to use, like, PHP or Django, Ruby on Rails, any of these sorts of backends. Certainly not in, like, a corporate environment. They just don't scale. You move on to something big, you're making a serious application, those don't scale. So you're almost certainly using either Java, C#, or Golang. And, you know, I don't really like Java for web development. I feel like that web development in Java is, like, way overly complicated. And all of the dependency management and all of that sort of stuff in Java is, it's better, but it's still a big pain in the butt. It's still a big pain in the butt. So it's really, when I'm doing projects, it's really between C# and Golang. And, you know, especially when it comes to things like concurrency, Golang is so much better for that stuff. If you're a Windows platform, then it makes sense to use C#. And you can do it on Linux now too. So if you have an expertise in C# or you're a Windows shop, then C# still makes sense. But I'm kind of to the point where I don't understand why we're not seeing more people shift over to Golang. And this just kind of fits in with my other thing, which is my other kind of pet peeve, is that I wish that Rust was more popular and so forth, but the reality is that it's a real pain in the butt to develop GUI applications in Rust. So I'm surprised people aren't learning, like, OCaml or functional programming more in depth. Doesn't that kind of more get into what is the stuff that Vim what is NeoVim? What is the language that NeoVim uses? That's kind of like a functional OCaml type language, isn't it? Lua, that's right. Lua. Because I think everybody goes into that and they're like, oh, I have to learn Lua to do it? Why would I do that? Like, but, like, there's some real power in NeoVim, man. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting there. It's getting there. And I think that the text editors within 5 years will get to the point where it's like sorry, I'm having a day apparently. I'm forgetting names and stuff. That's not good. Medication should have kicked in by now. It's good to get me in the programming mode, though. I'm doing a technical interview today. Emacs, that's what it is. I think that within 5 years, the text editors may be getting back to a spot where you start to see Uber geeks start to do the Emacs sort of a thing, where you have significantly customized and created your own custom workflow within your text editor to help you code. That's kind of what Emacs was. And Emacs, you can do all of these things like manage your to-do list, manage your calendar and your schedule, and those sorts of things. And then what happened was Vim kind of won that battle for starters, and people moved over to using a Visual Studio for actual real programming, because the debugger was just, it was a lot easier to work with that. And people kind of moved away from the pure text editor. And then people started to be like, oh, most of the time I don't need Visual Studio and it takes too much memory, so I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. And when we got to Visual Studio Code, then people started to go back into the, I'm going to customize my text editor to give me this kind of workflow, right? So now the Visual Studio Code people are getting into the, oh, but can I do it all with only the keyboard? Yeah. So then you've got the ones that do want to do it all with the keyboard and from the command line, frankly, like NeoVim and Helix. And those ecosystems are getting close to where they could be like Emacs, and then maybe we'll see a weird shift. Something I'm just kind of watching that I'm excited for. Once you get plugins for Helix, I'm gonna be all over that. Probably make some. Oh, Camel is Jane Sweet Sweaty Link. Well, the thing I've always been told was that they use Julia for some reason. And they're actually kind of like, well, it's actually not the best suited for what we do, and it's not very widely used in the industry and everything, but we kind of like it because it's a special thing and we get to develop our people specifically for Julia and give them good. Like, one of the problems that you run into in the trading world, I guess you could say, is that you will get the data science people that all they've ever worked with is Python and Jupyter notebooks. And then they all write all of their code in a way that like is really difficult to push out to production and causes problems and stuff. And they don't know anything else, and it's hard to teach them another way because they're not programmers per se, right? They're just know enough to get by and do their job. And so I think that might be one of the reasons why they like Julia, is that they're like, okay, well, we can give them good practices from the start. Could be from that. Resting orders when you close, it goes away. Just save the ID. I don't know. So I haven't had any problems, but if you're having a problem with it, let me explain something. I was trying to explain this yesterday, but it's kind of hard over text. So if I come over here and I look at the... Oh, wait, Eric asked another question. What's your opinion on statistical modeling for trading such as GARCH or other forms of auto-regression? Okay, so some of these models like GARCH are really more about handling the value at risk of a really, really large portfolio. Because the big key for them is like, what is volatility going to do over the next few days and those sorts of things. So that's why those models kind of end up being so important. For what we're doing, maybe not as useful, right? For what we're doing, you want to go into either the momentum world, which is probably easier. There's a lot more information out there about momentum, or high frequency trading. So if you're going into high frequency trading, the kind of models and so forth that I know about that would be useful are like Hawk's processes and things like that. There's these models that kind of help you deal with volatility clustering and so forth. And then if you're going into momentum, just look for cross-sectional momentum or time series momentum, TEMA. And there's all these studies about that. But GARCH is kind of more, I'm a money manager and I have, bunch of different assets and everything, and I have to figure out how much risk there is in my portfolio to determine if I need to like degross, if I need to close some positions because we're in for some volatility. Okay. Anyways, to my indicators, because I could answer that one pretty quick. Okay, so in the NinjaTrader 8 folder, there's a saved folder, and this is where all of the data goes. So I can open up one of yesterday's one of yesterday's items. I left it open for a really long time, but like here's some of the overnight action and stuff, right? And these are all of the values, you know, for the end of every bar, okay? Now what the indicator has to do is it has to know when I save, what is the file name that I save to, and thus what is the file name that I need to look up when I'm looking for cached data. So the way that it determines that is the name of the instrument, ZN, and then the full name of the indicator, and then the date. Okay. So ZN 1 minute, my indicator's name, largest resting order is 2024 1104. Okay. There was an issue with the older version where, like this one right here, see how it has here at the end, it has ZN 1224. The instrument name gets put in there. So this is what? The market order imbalance. This is the 10-minute market order imbalance. Okay. So what's with this big, huge garbage in front of that, all of that, okay? That's a GUID. So GUID is basically you take the current time and it hashes to this random string. So every time that you get a new GUID, it's essentially guaranteed to be unique. Okay. So what happens is, like, I have 2 market order imbalances on here, right? And if I tell it, okay, just go to ZN 1 minute market order imbalance, how do I tell the difference between my 10-minute one and my 30-minute one? And that's why we created the GUID. But the problem is that, like, that's kind of annoying and you have to see it in there. And most of the time you only have 1 copy of the indicator on there. So what I did in the most recent version is down here in Music, there is this file name style. There's default, full, minimal, and custom. Full does it the way that it used to do it before. Okay. Minimal doesn't use this 1224 bits. I forget. I think that minimal still has the GUID in it, though, does it? Maybe that one doesn't have the GUID in it. I think so. I think maybe I do need to change it because you want one where it has the GUID, but it doesn't have that ZN 1224 bit. That's kind of the problem. So anyways, so if you're using the new version of the indicators and like your old cache data isn't showing up correctly, which mine is, okay, but if your old cache data is not showing up correctly, it's because it's using the new file name, essentially. And so you would have to go into the indicator and change that one property to full to use the old file name. But what I would recommend is just start using default. Just start using default and use the better names. And then use minimal if you have 2 copies of the same indicator on a chart. Okay. Let me check that. Full has the ID. Minimal. What's the difference between minimal and there is none? Instrument. Bars period name. Date the string. I should change that. I'll change that. Minimal should actually say like GUID. So you would default would be what you'd want to use most of the time. Full is what you would use for backwards compatibility, and GUID is what you would use new if you have two of the same indicator on it. That's what I should set it up. Okay. So that's probably why you're having that issue. But the reason why I wanted the default to not save the ID in there is, first of all, I don't think that people are using multiple copies of the same indicator on there most of the time. And like, it's a lot easier for doing the backtesting. You want to do the backtesting, and then you just add the indicator into your backtest, and you don't have to do anything. Otherwise, you have to like go and get the GUID and save it into the strategy itself, and there's all this stuff. And then there was really either way, you have to change it anyways, because that 1224 presents a problem, because then the strategy has to know which contract it's going to be trading on to. So that is unnecessary information in there anyways. That's why we took it out. So you probably need to change your names anyways. And then what you can do, and what I did, was I just went through all of my old data and changed the names of them, because it's just the name of the file. You just, you know, it took me a while, but I just renamed them all. It took me like 30 minutes. It was fine. So that's what that's about. I will, I think, make a video about this to give a little bit more detail about how to use it and make your own backtest, and we'll see how it goes. So I want to make individual videos about the individual indicators. So. All right. So I actually have something to look at here. I had a new version of this video that I needed to look at. Where is that?
Is order flow useless?
Yeah. So I'm going to watch that here real quick. I'll probably go a little bit quiet.
Well, that's what the internet keeps.
Yeah, but I want it to go to the other one. It's which one are you watching? I'm watching the new one that covers the misconception that order flow is looking at the resting orders. There we go. Now I still had the speakers on. Durr. I thought for a second that he didn't keep my stuff in there, but he did. It's better though. Let's see here. I missed a comment. For a backtest data lake, activate all the instruments you want to store. These will automatically be saved in the NinjaTrader 8 folder as end of each day. You can then save it with the default settings for future reference. Well, yeah. So NinjaTrader does save data, and you can kind of manage it a little bit with this historical data window. So I can come in here and I can say historical, and then here's all of the months that I have, and last day to 2022, and then it tells me the days, right? And then you can like download, import, export them. But this doesn't save the market depth. My indicators are all designed to help you save market depth. With NinjaTrader, you could do like market replay, but that's kind of a different thing. Because, that uses a lot of data and everything. What I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, like there's this calculation that I have to make. That's a really complicated calculation. So how about instead of reconstructing it every time, I just save it. I just cache the result of the indicator. And so I have found a way. So there's a couple of complications in here on this. Like the final answer actually ends up being not that complicated, but there's so many pitfalls with it that I fell into and mistakes that I made that made it so that like it didn't backtest correctly and didn't do this, it didn't do that. So there's a lot of nuance in it. But basically what I've done is I found a way for me to just say all of the data series that you've added to this indicator, like every time that you add a plot, it will go through all of the plots and export them, essentially is what it does. So it's caching. So not only does it work for market depth, But, you know, it's also similar to how I did the things for, like, saving stuff about the volume profile, for instance. And, yeah. By the way, we should zoom in on this, because, like, it's, there we go. So that's the key thing. And you have to save the data, but then you can actually do a real data-based analysis of, like, order flow setups. For instance, we did a back test on our market order imbalance, and we found that at the end of the contract, it did very poorly, and at the beginning of the contract, it did very well. So we're going to see if that pattern continues to hold up. And then we're going to see if we can use the resting orders as a good filter. And, yeah. And the data pipe, yeah, the data pipe is in there in the new beta. Actually, I couldn't find you because you were one of the people that was asking about it, yeah? I when I was looking back through Discord, I didn't find you. If you messaged me, I sent you the new version that has the data pipe in it, so you can mess with it. But it looks like I've already found one thing with it where it's like, oh, actually, I kind of wanted to change that. Anyways, oh yeah, I'm not done watching the video. Yeah, when I release it, maybe next week, I will, well, I think I actually want to put it out tomorrow, but, maybe not, I don't know, but I'm going to make a video with it too, so. And then I want to make videos for the individual indicators that I can like put on the documentation page to help explain to people what they're doing. So I'm watching this video. I got a video that I want to put out next week that I actually kind of recorded like 2 weeks ago, but you know, we're just waiting until after the election. And it's kind of addressing this misconception, like, is the order flow actually useless? There's a lot of people that come in and they just look at the resting orders and they're like, well, what do I do with that? They don't understand that really what we're looking at is the changes in the resting liquidity. That like something happens over here, there's some volume over here, and then all of these orders change. And so that's what I'm trying to explain in the video. But anyways, in the video, somebody was helping me edit, or somebody wants to edit for me, and so this is kind of like the test case. And the music that they use, it kind of sounds, oh wait, you can't hear it. There's still limit orders, but they're only submitted just before they would get filled. It sounds like mob music to me. You know what I mean? But that might actually, that might be the right mood and help the video. I don't know. It's kind of a test case, like we're gonna put on. It's good music. You like it? Yeah, you're excited for this one? Well, You know what, man? You know, it's something that I think is so funny. It was when I put out videos, I'm usually like, nobody's gonna care. Like, especially you guys on the stream. Most of the videos that I put out, you guys that are here on the stream every day will kind of already know this stuff because they usually come from questions that you guys are asking me, right? Now, I'll put it out next Monday. I find that videos do better when I put them out on Mondays. So I'll put it out on Monday. I don't want to put it out like right around an election. And there was, you know, one or two things on here. Because I think he doesn't necessarily understand. One of the things that I didn't like was like, he'll show these charts. And I'm like, don't use the chart. Just don't put the chart up at all. But it's okay. That one's okay. But I don't think he understood what we were looking at on the DOM. So I added these parts in there. And I was hoping that he would like add callouts to him, but he didn't. So I'm going to ask him, you know, ask him if he can. Because on this one, what it's showing right here, I don't see him here today, but maybe he can watch the video on replay or something. So some market volume just came in through here, right? So what happens is you get a message that says there was volume at 111.290. And then what the algorithm, what your software does is it says the best offer is 29 and the best bid is 28.5. So that means that any market volume traded at 29 is being matched up against an offer. Therefore, it was a market buy, right? And that's what I'm trying to explain in that. And so I want him to do a call out that says like, can I use white? Use white. I want him to say best offer. Best bid. Market order. Right. So we'll see what he says. I'm just making a note or two like that. I tell you what though, can I show you something? Later on, where is it? Yeah, this one right here. Is it right here? Yeah, okay, so this was from like last week. And when I went back through the video, because I'm like, oh, this will be pretty good to show for as an example in this video. When I really looked back on it, I was like, holy crap. This gave some of the best, most clear signals in the book that it can possibly give you. So what happened here? We just ticked down. It only took 1336 contracts to tick down. Okay. And then 449 gets put on the offer. So that's pretty typical, right? Now watch. Boom. Almost immediately 3,000 contracts, right? And so what I do is I start taking orders. I start selling it there, and it shoved all the way down to 21 in pretty quick succession after that. It doesn't show you that, but it was a really good signal. So when I put that video out, you watch that, those little sections, because he might not know all of the little details about what I should put on it, but there's some good signals. Here's another one where like they trade through it. Huge stack and immediately more volume at 27.5. Pretty good sell signal. So yeah. Do you talk about MBO data? No. So what was I thinking here? I was just for a second make sure I've got everything kind of Oh, okay. No, wait. Oh, I closed it. Why did I do that? Hold on a second. Let me answer that question in a second, okay? I'm gonna watch this double speed here just real quick. Catching this long after yesterday. So far, it still kind of looks to me like just a pullback, and that the larger trend is still down. But they might switch. So here's a key spot to watch, huh? I don't understand your question, D. When do we know new Pressy this eve? Oh, when do we know the new president? So something I would look at, let me pull it back up here again, 270. Here you go. So if you go to 270towin.com/poll-closing-times, there's this nifty chart here, or map here, that shows you colors about when the polls close. So when the polling locations close, the media is then allowed to release the results of their exit poll, or rather their exit polling. Okay, so those times are the key times to look for when you might see market moves. Is they'll come out, especially Pennsylvania, okay, when Pennsylvania closes, and then they're going to get all of the exit polling. And if Pennsylvania closes and the exit polling shows, wow, women came out in way stronger numbers than anybody was expecting on election day, then that means probably Kamala Harris is going to win. And if it comes out and they say, wow, men really showed up on election day way more strongly than the early voting and anything else that we were looking at was suggesting, that it probably means that Donald Trump is going to win. It might be way more nuanced than that in Pennsylvania, though. But like when you get that exit polling, that's kind of like the first key point. And then ever after that is just kind of waiting for enough of the official vote to come in until the media outlets can use the official tally and compare to their exit polling to project the rest of it and project a winner. And just, you know, how much of the vote has come in before they can confidently project a winner. Okay. And I will not be streaming, or at least I do not expect to be streaming. I would like to, but I'm watching the kids. So unless like I get my mom to come over and watch them, I don't think we'll be streaming. All right. Yeah, let me finish watching the video, then I'll talk about, then I'll go into a big long spill about MBO. So one of the things that I like about what this video editor has done is like when I say, okay, here's another video, he just pulls it over here, right? Or there's another part here a little bit later where he shows all of the videos from my order flow series. And I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. I never thought to do that. This right here, I like that so much. That right there to me is like, okay, maybe we should let this guy do the editing. I thought that was really good. Because it's not like he's doing any editing that's like super fancy that I couldn't do myself. I just don't have the time to go and find all of the media and all of that sort of stuff. And I don't have those kinds of ideas. And that was a good idea that he had. Okay, so that's good. I do need to check out what's with this odd hitch. Is that in my source video? Did I screw something up? Okay, well, I'll send in that. Okay, MBO. So the MBO data, for those of you guys that aren't familiar, when I get a change in the market depth, what I do is I say what I get in the data is it says there was a change in the market depth at 10.5. So it'll say 10.5 is 2 positions away. The price is 10.5 and the liquidity is now 32.71. Okay. And then when it changes again, it's telling me, oh, now it's 32.24 or whatever it is, right? Well, it's changing a lot right up there. They're kind of preparing for maybe they're going to bust the highs here. I don't know. We'll see. MBO is a little bit different. MBO says, oh, there is an order at 08 half that's like 300 lots and it canceled. And so the advantage of MBO data is basically you can calculate exactly where you are in the queue, because when the level 2 changes, it's telling you by order instead of just the overall level 2. So when it's just the overall level 2 and some liquidity pulls, was the liquidity that pulled in front of you in line or behind you in line? You don't know. But with MBO data, you've constructed this all from the orders. You know if it was in front of you in line or behind you in line. And that can be particularly useful for algorithmic trading because their chances of getting filled is like a really, really big deal. Okay. So for us, is the MBO data super valuable? Well, like that, the primary use case for it, maybe not. One thing is that you do get to see, is there like an unusually large order? Like maybe there's the same amount of liquidity at every price, but there is an unusually large single order in there that you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. So that's one thing that you could see with MBO data that might be valuable. But another thing that MBO data does is there's this weird little quirk where it says, like, if I submit a new order, then MBO will come in there and they'll say there's a new order and it's, 200 lots or whatever. And then if you change that, it will say there's a change in an order and it changed to this value. Okay. But what happens if you submit a market order? Well, it's going to be a new order, right? So what would happen if you get a market order that says it was an update? What's with that? Well, it's because it was a stop order. It was a stop order. It got converted into a market order, and that's why it shows up as an update. And so some of the platforms like Bookmap are showing these as stops and saying, when I get market orders that are updates, those are actually stop orders being triggered. So then you can see places where stops are triggered. That is a really interesting thing to me. That seems like there's some real investigation that we could do with that information. Do we have any, we record all of that information for a year or whatever, and then is there, like, when we break a high, are there more stops there? Like, are there certain places where you're more likely to be stops? Let's see if we can find that. Do stops have kind of like a different impact? Is it like when you have a lot of stops, we're likely to reverse after that? Like what are the statistics? I would like to do that. 2 problems. Problem number 1, neither NinjaTrader or Jigsaw support MBO data. So the platform that I have don't really look at that. Problem number 2, it's $100 a month, and I don't know if I want to spend $100 a month for that MBO data when I'm not really sure that it gives me an explicit edge. Okay. Well, one of the things that we could do, though, is we could decide to make our own platform. So, I've always kind of talked about making something in Rust. We might be in a good spot to do that because I've kind of made the changes to my indicators and everything that we want. And now that I've done that, I need to be saving data for a year or whatever before I can really do a lot of back testing on that. We're in a pretty good spot on videos. So what's the next thing that we do? Well, we got some choices. We can continue doing what we're doing. We can focus a lot more on kind of like a YOLO trade or something that will pass a combine. We could focus more on momentum strategies and something that we could really turn into a fund. Or we could focus on creating a new platform in Rust that reads MBO data and does these other things with caching and saving of a level 2 data. So Now, maybe you have some other ideas, some other things that you would like me to do. There are some things that, you know, I could do that aren't even necessarily trading. Like, I've had this idea for a phone game. Because my kids, they will always try and go through the menus, right? Like, I have a problem. I'll get them into the game, and they start playing the game, and then they always want to go into the menus. And like, especially in Minecraft, you know, there's like the shop and everything. So they start exploring every little step of the shop. And it's really, they can't help but navigate through the menus. So I'm like, what if there was a game that was really just about navigating through menus? And the menus were actually kind of like a maze of sorts. Like, you create this graph that has like a maze. Like, here's where you enter, and here's where you're trying to get to, that take the exit that gets you to the next level. And the whole game is just navigating through the menus. And then I could like, you know, create all of the menus and everything, and make it like really flexible, so that then I could put AI on top of it, and the AI could change the way that the menus look and what sort of controls and everything it uses. And then based on whether users try to complete the level or not, it will, you know, be more likely to make a world that looks like that in the future. Right? So that then you end up with this infinite menu that is like AI generated. So that's one of my ideas. I also had this idea. We wanted to do a mass rock paper scissors game to kind of show off some game theory stuff. So there's a couple of different things that we can do with our time now. How do I know when there are updates to your indicators? Good question. So my intention with this next one is that I will be sending you an email. So I've added you all to the mailing list, and I'm going to send an email out to the mailing list that we've made an update and everything. Also, if you go to the website, so speculatorseth.com, and then the first thing is there's downloads. I have a new downloads page, and it tells you the last time that I updated it. So I updated it in June. Then we'll be updating it again here in November. So at least when you come in here, you can see, oh, was there an update that I missed or something like that. Also added all these other things like the multi-period candles and stuff. Actually, by the way, somebody on YouTube was asking about that. We should go in. Hey, Paul, leaving comments. Thank you very much. What's this other one I missed? A good book? No, I can't. I wish that there was one good one for everything you need to know to trade treasury futures. Oh yeah, so in the index of our index funds evil, I added pictures and stuff. Paul says, oh, then we're good. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in the performance of this video of that art index funds evil, but you know, whatever. Maybe it's too dark. Maybe the thumbnail is just not good enough. Anyways, so just think about those things, and maybe you have some ideas, because again, I kind of view this as like, you know, this is a team. And so I kind of want to adjust how I'm spending some of my time outside of the stream, and you know what some of our focus is during the stream, because I'm a little bit bored and I've got some extra time, you know, so I'm thinking about going into those things. One of the ideas is creating a platform that would deal with MBO data. I mean, once we do that, if I made a platform, it would deal with MBO data. So, think about that. Maybe you have some other ideas. And tomorrow or maybe the next day, depends on if there's still crazy stuff going on with the election or not. But once we're certain who the president is going to be and everything, then everybody kind of gets a different outlook on life and they start to plan different things. And we have a better view of what the future is like and we can have a vote on what we want to do. Okay? With AI, I like to see how many we all like that. Well, so on the machine learning thing, that's going to happen no matter what. It's just, I think that I need to be collecting data for a little while longer. Well, for one thing is I know I've been able to get the resting orders to look a little bit different. But I just wanted to study it the way that it's been. Tomorrow, I think I will shift. Actually, I can shift it right now, maybe. Let's shift it right now. Resting orders. I'm only looking at 4 right now. What if I look at 10? So we'll see how that starts to look different. And am I looking at the right one? It is the actual level filter, right? Yeah. Min difference, max difference. Because I remember there being like the min difference, max difference staying for a while and then shifting, and there being some stuff that seemed like it would be useful for that, but I'm not seeing that. So I gotta fix that. And then, once I got that all set, then we have to kind of wait a few months and collect enough data. And then I can do more machine learning stuff with it. I guess I could work on the Python stuff. The data pipeline is another thing that I could be spending some time on. So I guess I should add that to the list too. Anyways, let's pop out. I think that if going out on the news and everything, the morning of, we should get the more serious polls, right? Ferrari shares skid on crashing deliveries in China. Schiff. Man, I tell you what, I used to hear about Schiff so much. Zero Hedge talks about him a lot, but I ignore every story. I really don't think that guy is a clue. So it's like him and Destiny are the two creators out there that, like, when I hear their names or I see them, I immediately scroll on. Let's see here. Atlas, Intel, and Cook report aggregate crosstabs signal a long night for Kamala Harris. To quote Groundhog Day, well, here we are in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania again. Welcome to Election Day, where we plan to continually, this is from Hot Air, provide analysis during the day and then live blog the entire night. We will once again partner with Decision Desk HQ to provide real-time vote data this evening and look for their calls on key states. Voting will have already started, but the pre-voting polling has concluded. In RCP's aggregation, the national polls ended in a dead heat at 48.5 for both Donald Trump and Harris. That is no es bueno for Democrats, who need a fairly substantial lead in national polling to win the Electoral College, thanks to the limit of overwhelming popular vote and majorities in California and New York. It doesn't look good in the battleground states either. They have Trump up at 0.3 in Pennsylvania, 2.5 in Arizona, 1.9 in Georgia. But Harris in Wisconsin and Michigan. So that, it still comes down to Pennsylvania, but they have him with a slight edge in Pennsylvania. So it's going to be close. It's like I've been saying, it'll be close. Okay, those blue wall states that looked so good for Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden turned into Democrat nightmares in 2016 and nearly did again in 2020. Will pollsters underestimate Trump's strength again? And where did the key demographic groups wind up when averaging the polls? For an answer to that question, we have to turn to the Cook Political Report and Dave Wasserman. Last night, Wasserman linked to their final aggregation of selected pollsters, which, unlike RCP, aggregates results in key demographics. And the news there is also not good for Team Kamala. They said also no es bueno for Team Kamala, although the top line aggregation gives her an under 1% lead in the national polls. Wasserman is one of the sharpest election observers in the media. When he says, "I've seen enough," he means it, and his calls almost never go wrong. If you want to follow a reliable observer, get on board right now. In this case, though, Wasserman undersells how much the demos changed the picture from 4 years ago, and not just in this cycle. Trump has made some eye-popping gains that call into question how the top lines can be as close as they are. With black voters, the Cook report shows those split in 2020 on a 90-9 basis favoring Joe Biden. Their final aggregate average has Harris leading, but only by 80-15, meaning that Trump has gained significantly while he's losing even more, likely to third-party candidates. 4 years ago, 18 to 29-year-olds. 4 years ago, Biden led 60-37 in this key Democrat voter group. Harris only leads the aggregated data by 13 points, 54-41, a 10-point drop in the gap. Hispanic voters, Biden also led this group 60-37 in 2020. Harris leads by 53-41, again a 10-point drop in the gap. Gender gap, Cook doesn't have historical polling data from 2020, but the 2020 exits gave Biden a clear win. Trump led among men 53-45, while Biden won women by 15 points, 57-42, for an 8-point advantage overall. This time, Trump wins men by almost 11 points, so 53-43, which is about the same, while Harris wins women by just over 11 points, 54-42. So Harris's advantage in women is less this time than last time. Well, that doesn't point very good for the whole scenarios that Democrats are looking for and think is going to win them. The aggregate data points a much rosier picture for Trump, assuming that the polls are accurate and the aggregation is supposed to adjust for outliers. If that doesn't put a little pep in Team Trump's step, then the last iteration of Atlas Intel survey should do it. The reputedly most accurate pollster in 2020 has Trump ahead in all 7 battleground states as well as in the national popular vote. Wow. None of these are commanding leads except for Arizona, where Atlas Intel predicts that Kari Lake will beat Ruben Gallego. Georgia becomes a literal tie when the full ballot question is asked, but Trump gets 23% of the black vote there too, and 25% when asked as a two-person election. In Michigan, Trump gets 42% of the black vote. Nevertheless, Elisa Slotskin still edges out Mike Rogers for the Senate seat there. This is just the data we have. Of course, do with it what you will, but this is the data at the end. Well, I'd much rather be Trump this morning than Harris. Again, when the polls close, then you get the exit polling data, and that will really be the big tell. And if those numbers hold up in the exit poll data, then yeah, it's going to be a very long night for Kamala Harris. All right. Thank you for reminding me, Live Action. We do have an ISM number coming up in 1 minute. We are looking at the services. So US ISM services PMI, previous reading 54.9, and they're looking this time for a reading of 53.8. Remember that over 50 is expansion. Manufacturing hasn't been doing very good, but services has been okay. And I would expect services to still be above 50. If it was below 50, then that would be like, are we going into a recession? Maybe. Also, on this number, pay attention to the prices paid. Last time we got a reading of 59.4, which is pretty hot. They're looking for a reading of 58. If we got a hotter than expected reading on prices paid, I think you might see some more selling in treasuries on concerns about inflation. And here we come. They are selling it. And it looks like on the top line, it's 55 versus the expected 55 spot 3. But the price is paid is, yeah, it's hot. Well, actually not that bad.
Block sell.
Oh, sorry, I'm misreading that. US ISM services PMI, they expected 53 spot 8. It was 56. So it was hotter than expected. Employment was much better. Last time it was 48. This time it's 53. Prices paid 58 spot 1 versus an expected 58. So the prices paid was okay, but the top line number was a little hot. I would expect the S&P 500 to be okay with that though, yeah? Like, I think this is like, oh, the economy actually, it's still looking pretty good. That means that maybe we don't need to cut interest rates, but the stock market should continue to rally. Yeah, the treasury sold off pretty hard, but the S&P 500 is holding okay for now. And we saw a pretty strong spike in the dollar, drop in the Japanese yen. Interestingly enough, though, also a rally in Bitcoin this morning before this news. Yeah, so if 56 versus a 53 spot 8, I would say that's a decent beat. I wouldn't say that it's like an unusually strong beat, but it's a decent beat. So I think that the move that we got in the treasuries is about right on. I can't really tell if this is a situation where we should continue to sell or not. I do think that we broke some key levels though, didn't we? Hold on. Yeah. Oh, not quite. But we're getting there. We're getting there. So that might mean though that we're just seeing the lows for the session. They might have some difficulty continuing to move from that. It was ISM. Yeah, there was economic data. It was ISM. ISM was hotter than expected. The treasury sold off pretty hard. Yeah. S&P 500 seems okay with it so far. I mean, there's been a good rally since the open over there in the S&P 500 anyways. So the thing that I see is that the trade for the election has been sell the treasuries, buy equities. That like there's concerns about Donald Trump maybe exacerbating inflation, but also being generally overall good for the stock market. And this news is kind of in line with that larger trade. Yesterday there was a little bit of the Trump trade profit taking. Now we'll see if they extend it or what happens on election night. I think that my recollection from looking at the charts on past election days has been that like the market reactions to election night can be confusing. So today will probably be even more, or this time around will probably be even more confusing, I think. Okay, so now my resting orders is kind of a little bit more like what I would expect. Like we're moving down and it's showing me that the difference and the difference in changes is more on the bids. So like they're moving into the liquidity. So what it's saying is when you add all of these bids up, there's more bids than there are offers. And when you look at the stacking and pulling, there's more difference between this in the stacking and pulling on the bids than on the offers. That's what that means. Well, the Republicans are showing a lot of good reasons to think that they're going to win tonight, but we should expect them to be posting that sort of stuff. So, Live Action says, I want to do a Soros trade when he made over $1 billion in one day shorting a currency. Well, it's something that we don't necessarily talk about very often, but it does matter sometimes. Well, right, like the key thing is understanding when reflexivity matters, right? We know that when you trade something, you have an impact on the market. Reflexivity is essentially when your impact on the market triggers secondary impacts that are also in the direction that you're going. So a great example might be with options. If there's an area of high negative gamma, basically when you go through that area, once you've gone through that area and the dealers are negative gamma, then they have to, buy or sell the stock in the direction that it's been going to hedge themselves. Essentially, they exacerbate the move. So if you can come in and your impact is going to push it past that point, and then you're going to trigger all of the dealers, right? All of the options market makers. That's reflexivity. And so Soros was all about looking for macroeconomic situations where he could create that reflexivity. And that London trade was like a good example. Him coming in and like just selling the pound hardcore like that, that's going to have a huge impact, right? But from what we know from order flow, shouldn't he get stuck in that position? But the problem is that by pushing it in that way, it kind of like screwed everybody over and exacerbated the move, and so much so that then he was able to take his profits on the trade. So when might those sorts of situations happen? I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to know. Perhaps we should be reading George Soros's books, because maybe he will give us some hints on how to find them. 005 might be resistance. Well, I would expect that. I was going to say, it's kind of funny that they're not quite able to get to that evens, but there was a bit of a stop run after evens, I would say, right? So let's look back on the volume profile here. We're still kind of at, this area between here and the close on Friday, which was at 28, is going to be like some support. And you're kind of in an area of congestion from, the summer. So I would be a little bit surprised to see us break a new low and, like start trending down off of that news when we've got like an election coming up and everything. So I'm kind of expecting, okay, we do have like a weekly low here. I think that while they might pierce the weekly low, that they would probably reverse quickly after, based on the context of the situation. So let's see if I'm right, if they push it beyond 28 or not. We've only got 50 minutes left. I guess 50 minutes is a lot of time, but I don't know if we'll know the answer before the end of today, unfortunately. Oh, I thought that this was in the morning. Hold on. Let's see here. Came across a hedge fund behind the scene channel yesterday. I have to find it and share it with you. You'll love it. Oh yeah, that'd be interested in that. Yesterday, well, I don't know how interesting this is. It wasn't yesterday, it was a few days ago, but D sent me a video where somebody was doing an interview, and it seemed to me like this was a YouTube channel that was doing order flow. They were a little bit smaller than my channel, but they seemed to have like a like they were putting a lot more money into it. Like they had the whole podcast set up and all those sorts of things, and they were interviewing traders I had never heard of before, but apparently had some, they were considered legends or whatever, some profitability in the past. And this one that we were watching in particular, it was like, wow, does this guy watch my channel? Because everything that he's saying about this is like what I've been telling people all along. and that was really interesting to me. And it started to recommend other videos, and like, but I just have that reflex of like, don't click it, it's probably going to be nonsense. But like the one interview was good, so maybe the other interview would be good. But the one interview that was good, I didn't learn anything from it. Maybe other people might have found it useful, but to me it was like stuff I already knew. So it was kind of like, what was it really helpful? But a behind the scenes from a hedge fund, that might be useful, right? I think the panic risk that George Soros created forced a higher level of liquidity because people were looking to cover their exposures appropriately, so he was able to essentially get out that way. Yeah, exactly. He created the panic, and it created. I wouldn't use the word liquidity, but yes, he basically, the impact of his trade basically created the way for him to get out. Now I don't know how he got out. Yeah, it was from Andre Simi. That's how did you know? How did you know that, 007? The information that I gave you, that was enough to know what channel it was. That's funny. But yeah, I watched that and I was like, is this guy watching my channel? He was using completely different software and stuff. That was kind of interesting. The one thing in that video that was curious was that guy seemed to think that the MBO data mattered. So I think you're his, maybe. I do know that there has been more than one person that has come and asked me about the streaming stuff, and then I think went on and streamed it. So, you know, it's funny because, you know, I've been okay to be small. Like I think there's some advantages to us to be small. Our channel is kind of at the spot where like I will typically see channels just like take off after that. You know, if I was making content. This is often the place where I see, you know, around 16 to 20k subscribers, and then the channel will just like explode and take off. But you know, I've kind of been like, I don't know if that really matters if that happens. But then I lost my job, and then I'm like, it would be really useful right now if the channel were to, you know, like really take off and we were making like $20,000 a month off of YouTube ads. That would be wonderful. Please, let's make that happen. So, but anyways, yeah. But that video, this guy also kind of seemed to be claiming that he had a discretionary day trading edge off of all of this stuff. That was kind of like, huh, okay. Wonder how he's actually doing it. Wonder if his stats are really as good as the channel is making them out to be, you know? I think if you continually put out videos at a higher pace, you will grow very quickly. Yeah, I mean, I think that the index funds video, I think I'm just disappointed about that video because that's something that I feel so strongly about. And it's really something that I wish would go viral. Like, I want people talking about the societal impacts of everybody investing in their 401k and index funds controlling the market. I don't think that we talk about it, but it's like probably one of the most impactful things about our current society. And I kind of would like to see some changes to it. So I'm disappointed in that one for those reasons. But I didn't necessarily expect that like that thumbnail and tagline was going to be like insanely popular. I think that most people, they hear the term index fund and their eyes probably glaze over, right? Now, in the next video is one that anybody that's watched the channel before or is into order flow, they're going to see that one and they won't be able to help themselves but click. Okay. I don't know how many clicks that's worth in order flow, but you know, hopefully that video will do pretty well. And I think that it talks about some stuff that, like, I get this question a lot. So I think that will clarify a lot of things for people. So the next video should be good. And we have like the better editing. So I'm excited to see. Y'all should you know, give extra likes and comments to that video so that our friend in Pakistan that edited the video for us, you know, it has some evidence to say, yeah, you should continue to pay me to edit videos. Maybe it will, because you know, the job hunt is just so brutal, man. I tell you what. I don't want this to come into like sound like I'm complaining about it. Sometimes I am complaining about it. I'm not complaining about it right now. I feel pretty good right now, but sometimes I do feel like a little down and beaten down. But I feel pretty good at the moment. But I'm just kind of telling you to try and give people an idea of what the labor market is really like right now, because I don't think that people realize it is brutal. The labor market is brutal. Like the last job that I got, I had an interview with the CTO first, and then they gave me like a little test, and then I had an interview with the team, and then the next day they gave me an offer. And I remember thinking at the time, this is a little bit too fast, and like this is a little risky because I'm leaving a place that's been relatively secure and is in a relatively secure industry, and going to a place where I don't know what it's going to be like or what my place will be in the company, and it's in a very insecure industry. And I was a little concerned about how quickly they hired me. I was a little concerned about some of the things that they said, because it seemed like that they were building out a new SRE team and that they didn't completely understand what SRE was. But I went for it, and I maybe that was the wrong choice. I don't know if the amount of extra income that I made over that year was worth it or not. I guess so far it has been worth it. So I guess it depends on how long. You know, if I go like a half a year without getting a new job, then it wasn't worth it. Anyways, so that was that interview process. Now it's like you will have an interview with an HR person. Then you will probably have an interview with kind of like what we would call the hiring manager, or it's just like, it's usually the manager, right? It's the technical person that is saying we need to fill this role, right? Then you probably have an interview with the team. And some of these cases I've had 2 technical interviews. Or sometimes it's like you meet with the hiring manager, you do a technical interview, and you meet with the team. So there's like 3, 4, some instances, 5 levels of interviews. And then they're interviewing at least 5 other people at the same time. So you're not going to get an answer after the interview on whether they're going to hire you for at least a week, if not 2 or 3 weeks. That's the labor market right now, man. It is so different, and it is so brutal and frustrating, because especially for someone like me, you know, I'm ADHD. Getting that feedback really helps, like staying motivated and stuff when everything that you're doing is all basically just going through the process and hoping that things work out long term. And there's not any kind of immediate feedback that says, hey, this is working, you're doing good, keep going down this path. That is really demotivating. It's really demotivating and difficult. And it makes me feel like, man, is all of the go and get a day job, is it really actually going to be worth it? Like, because maybe I really should just be like, let's put everything into becoming a viral sensation on YouTube. You know, start your own business. Yeah. I gave you 3 winners this morning. Oh, well, you did give us some good trades this morning, didn't you? I had kind of, you know, going back to what I was talking earlier about MBO data, that was like, okay, I would like to change some things because I change helps sometimes, and I'd like to do some things different. And it's like, what are some things that we could focus on the stream that might be a little bit different? We could build our own trading platform. We could focus more on swing trading strategies. I could go for a YOLO. We could focus a little bit more on Python backtesting. Those are kind of like the 4 or 5 different focuses. Maybe you have a focus that would be better. Another one that I had thought of, so I guess here's the 5 or 6, is writing a weekly report. I've always kind of wanted to have something that's like I would put out on Sunday evening or something like that, that would give you an idea of what the events that are coming up and the contexts and everything that I'm looking at that I think are important. And I think that could be worth $20 to $50 a month, and it could be a subscription service. You know, so that's another thing that we can focus on. All of those things are things that are like, you know, extra time. Investment channel or day trading. Well, you know, I'm kind of thinking more of the perspective of other things that we would do while we're streaming, or that I would be spending my free time on that are related to helping the stream, is kind of more the direction that I'm thinking. I suppose that it could be something completely unrelated to day trading if you guys were interested in that, because this is a team, you guys want to do stuff with that, we could do it. Maybe you have some other ideas, because I keep thinking like, man, what is this sort of like, you know, if I want to start my own business, what is something I can do right now that would bring income right now, you know? Because when I think about like a video or changes to the indicator things, a lot of those things are kind of like, oh yeah, but you're doing a little bit of work, and then hopefully when you're done, you can market it correctly. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe what I really should be doing, and this is something that happens no matter what, is I will be putting a little bit more effort into marketing the indicators. Like, I want to maybe have more than one video a week, and one of the videos will be me sharing the screen and explaining an indicator in depth. So if you have some ideas, some like immediate income ideas to start a small business, to bootstrap a small business with, let me know. Otherwise, I don't know, end up doing nothing. Can you build them for Sierra charts? I could. You know what? Let's put that on the list here. Hold on. Do I have a list? I think I have a list. All right, well, we'll do it here. So let me list this out. Change nothing. And just focus on the DOM more. This is the first option, right? Equity indexes, momentum strategies, Python, data pipeline, and then what was the next one? Oh yeah, oh my gosh, I just had it. Well, not my best day, is it? Well, anyways, then this is make a platform. Make own platform. Indicators for Sierra charts. That's 6. Yeah, premium. Oh yeah, that was the one. That was the other one, so, right? Newsletter. So I do need to do better. In fact, I should post the Bitcoin today. I guess I will do that. Where's over here? Yeah. Notes. Post Bitcoin chart. And that has been kind of one of the things is like, so I want to make more stuff for the premium Discord. I feel like we did really good at the beginning, but the past week has been a little bit quieter over there. So I want to get more stuff on there. And that kind of comes into this other thing, which is like creating like a little bit more of a newsletter or something, like a Substack. Let's call it a Substack. Substack. So there you go. You guys gave me 2 ideas just here today. 3 ideas. Okay. Now on the split side, I just want to tell you some things that are happening no matter what. More videos about indicators, and something that I don't know how far in the future this is, but interviews with researchers. Something that I want to add on. And the videos that I'm planning on putting out are gonna kind of be more along the lines of like targeting the more general day trading audience. So like one video that I might want to do next week or the week after is what are the real impacts of a Harris or Trump presidency once we know who's going to win? Because there's lots of things that people think will happen that are like just really crazy and aren't going to happen. So kind of want to make a video to kind of address that. Also, something that should be happening no matter what is Seth Reads. I've kind of been, I'm a little bit in like an unfocused mode. I was reading one thing and that was useful and it's a tough book and I just kind of need to continue pushing through that. Then there was another one that I thought was going to help me with my career because I thought there was a particular role that was available that I needed to go down that path, but then turned out to not be that, and I felt like I got enough out of that book at the time, so I don't know if I'll finish that one. And I guess I'll want to finish reading More Money Than God. That's a good one to read. But then after that, I'm kind of like open again. It's kind of like, the funny thing is that when I get into, I've been saying, oh, I need to do more about like teamwork and managing people and stuff like that. But then when I start to read those books, I'm kind of like, I don't know if this is really helping me at this time or not. And I want to read stuff about the market, I guess. I do have a long list of books to go and get, though. And I do, when I'm watching the kids, I do think I have some time to do reading. It's just kind of hard to, because my focus is really bad. So, like, it's hard for me to read in anyways, like to sit down and really read something and focus. It's even harder when, I have to look up every 5 seconds and make sure they're not killing each other. But they're so much better. They're so much better than they were like the beginning of the summer, for instance. But yeah. So one other thing, Greg, it's something I would be interested in is like which content do you guys think would be the most useful, like in the paid Discord? Because one of the things I'm trying to sort out is like, okay, so I want to have content that's there on the paid Discord to reward people for spending $3 a month. Okay, it's kind of like the $3 a month is mostly just to get access to, the channel that doesn't have all of the bot spam. But, there's a free Discord. There's a lot of information on that free Discord, right? So, it'd be nice to have some other content that gets you in there and that you get like every week. But then I would also like to be able to justify spending a lot more time writing something up that's really in depth and I really spent a lot of time on each week. And that's something that I think would be more like a $20 to $50 subscription. through Substack, or I would make it available both on Substack and on the Discord. You can buy them like as one-offs on the Discord, you know? So I'm kind of trying to sort out what content would fit in each of those buckets. One thing is that the Bitcoin indicator is in the, if you subscribe to the Discord, I posted there. And any of these other things that I've got, if I haven't posted them, just ping me on the Discord and remind me. Or you ask me a question on the Discord and I'll answer them. Which, by the way, I should take that map thing and put that on. Summary of or interpretation of market research papers. Yeah. Tell you what, like there's the research papers one is a toughie because there's so much. So there's a lot of papers, and which papers do you focus on? And how much effort do you put into an individual paper? You know, like that latest one from Jean-Philippe. That would totally justify some programming, but you know, that could be like a year-long project. You know, it's rough. It's rough because like I do have more time than I had before when I had a day job, but it's not full time. It's not full time, and in fact, it's gonna get even worse. Well, I'll have to have my mom come over, but you know, it'll have to be like certain days. I'll have to be like, okay, Melissa works every day this week. I need these days, and those days are probably going to be the ones that like I have interviews set up for. And then the other days I'm watching the kids. And the days where I'm watching the kids, I should be able to read at least. I hope. We'll see. So, if I was really able to do it full time, from the way that it worked like the first 2 weeks, yeah, I think I could probably put out 2 videos a week and like all of this other content. I'm worried we're gonna go and we're gonna do our little vote, and you guys are gonna be like, no, make the indicators for Seer charts. Because I do think like a third of the audience is in Seer charts, and the people that are the most interested in having those indicators would love to have them in Seer charts. There are a couple of roadblocks with Seer charts because I don't have it and I don't pay for it, and I'm not really interested in paying for it at the moment. So I would need to find a way to, you know, maybe I can get something with it. Would really like to get into, well, does Sierra Charts have some sort of like a demo system, or, you know, because that's probably what I would need to work with in the beginning. Another thing with Sierra Charts is that they do have some indicators that kind of do those sorts of things. So I would maybe need to adjust my indicators to kind of play with theirs better and things like that. I don't know. I don't remember which one it was, but I did make one of my indicators in Sierra charts to see how realistic it was. It would be a lot of work because their methods and everything work completely differently. So it's a little bit harder, but it did work. So could do it. The truth is, I'm personally not that interested in doing them in Sierra charts, but it may be the right thing. It may be the right thing. Oh man, I'm worried that I am getting sick. It's my kids, they've kind of been acting sick and my throat feels a little gravelly today. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe this next video that we're going to try and put out next Monday will do so well that we will then be able to just completely focus on the YouTube channel and I'll be able to do all of the above, huh? Could happen. I can dream. It's a real possibility. Maybe a small possibility, but it could happen. Oh man, I didn't see this, that the mountains got 4 inches of snow up there, huh? Wow. Didn't realize it was that much. Well, by the way, the treasuries did kind of form a range down here and back off, but not by very much. So they could totally go for more. We'll see if they go for it or not. S&P 500 looks great. Oil is just kind of doing its thing. Well, overall, I would say relatively constrained still. One of the problems that I have is that when I know there's something coming up, like I have an interview that day or whatever, it's hard for me to see past that and do something else other than just wait for that interview. Let's see, any new stuff since we've been chilling here? I wanted to focus on the order flow a little bit more today, but you know, since that news, it hasn't really been, it's been pretty lackluster. Well, the latest story on Zero Hedges, the math doesn't work. CNN panelist says Dems at massive disadvantage from early voting deficit. I want to believe so badly, guys. You know what I need to do is I need to come over here to Reddit, and then I'll see all of the posts on Reddit where they're saying, yeah, here you go. The first thing that I see on Reddit, Kamala Harris suddenly becomes favorite to win in top election forecast. Which one is that? the polling aggregator 538 has suddenly named Kamala Harris as its favorite. Oh, that's not Nate Silver's, but the 538 one. The update on election day had Harris coming out as favorite 50 times out of 100. And Trump 49. Okay, so a favorite, but not by very much. Jim Cramer says Wall Street investors are anticipating a Kamala Harris win? Really? Where is this one? Oh, okay, so that's from Wales. Inverse Kramer, boyos, yeah. Of course. Yeah. If she loses, you know it's all your fault now, Jim, right? Yep, it's now all but certain that the mango is the chosen one. Screw you, Jim. You ruined my idealistic dream, and now it's a foreseen conclusion. My goodness. Judge rules that Elon Musk can continue his $1 million sweepstakes, declining to issue an injunction against America PAC. Dude, watching this one has been so crazy because I see so many people that are like, oh, what he's doing is illegal. See, he's going to get in trouble from the courts. And I'm just sitting here like, oh, no. Oh, no. They might fine him. I'm sure that Elon Musk will be devastated if that happens. Yeah. Good grief. Jim used to live in his car. Yeah, I'm going to listen to him. I really think that Jim Cramer is one of the best sources to listen to learn about markets, to learn how institutions think about markets, to learn like what are the key narratives that day that are driving things and all of that stuff. But just don't follow his recommendations. Like, I think that he makes pretty good recommendations too, but he's too popular for those recommendations to help you. Any edge that might be in them gets taken out by the time you're able to trade them. And that's why everybody's like inverse Kramer and all these sorts of things. This is part of it is a confirmation bias, and part of it is that, like, you know, you make a comment on every stock, you're going to be wrong every time that the market is wrong about something. And yeah, but like in terms of like learning about the market and like how to value things and the sort of stuff that he looks at, I think he's one of the best people to listen to. I learned a lot from watching Jim every day. Trump ends campaign by calling female leader the B word. Did that really happen? She's a crooked person. She's a bad person. She's an evil, sick, crazy B. I don't know if that's that bad. Oh, she's talking about Nancy Pelosi. It's okay to say that about Nancy Pelosi. Nobody likes her. 1.2K comments. Oh, I'm too late. I'm too late. Hey, wow. You know, I would say it except for that, like, nobody will see the comments, so shouldn't bother. Dartmouth. Kamala Harris leads by 28 points in New Hampshire. Well, that was the one that some people were kind of thinking maybe it's within Trump's grasp, but I think it's unlikely. But it's curious to me that r/politics thinks that that's a story worthy of putting up there. They must have been worried. What's this? I think he uses IBD and MarketSmith. I subscribe to them and remember him looking at this the same stuff and quoting great sources in my opinion if day trading stocks. You know, that's another, you know, should I add that to the list? Should I add that to the list? Day trade stocks. That's something that could really change the channel up substantially. That might be fun. One of the problems is that most of these things kind of involve like buying different data. When I started this, I was like, I don't know if I have enough choices here. And now I'm like, oh, I have too many. I have too many choices. Which way are we gonna go? We're gonna have to eliminate some of them. We're gonna have to eliminate some of them. Maybe I can move the Substack off of that and put that into the it's gonna happen no matter what. It's just like maybe not right now. Yeah, let's consolidate this. I do like the data pipeline has to happen. Probably later. I like that best. I like, see, here's r/shitty political predictions. He's guaranteeing it. Kamala Harris will win. Okay. He's not paying attention again. My target 5800 was just missed. Oh, really? Oh, that sucks. Dude, that isn't it the worst when they're like literally one tick away from it? How does that happen? So it's just so uncanny that those sorts of things seem to happen. One of the things when I was doing my indicator like back testing and everything was like, oh, if you get in when you get the signal, it doesn't go far enough to reach your target in the time allotted. Which means to make a good trade out of the signal, you have to get a better entry than the price it's at the signal. Maybe it's as easy as just get it 2 ticks lower. We'll see. We should do some back tests on that. Mark my words, if Harris wins the election, Musk is going to do something very stupid. I kind of think so as well. Like, I think that Elon Musk is very concerned about what will happen to his businesses and so forth if Kamala Harris wins the election, because the Biden administration has pretty much been specifically attacking him just because he bought Twitter. A lot of this game can be a bit nebulous. Yeah, well, a lot of this game can just also be random, you know? It's absolutely crazy that who you support politically can get the government. Yeah, it really is crazy. Like, and then it comes back to like, maybe maybe the government is just too big and has too much power. Like that's how you red pilled him, right? That's exactly what it was. Because honestly, Elon Musk made a lot from the government with these green EV subsidies and all of that. I mean, that's one of a major factor. I think that he would probably still be a billionaire otherwise, anyways. But it's probably a major factor behind why he's the richest person, you know? And yeah, it's just like he was all into EVs. Like there was all things that I think liberal people would like, and like people on Reddit seemed to like him and everything. And then all of a sudden when it was like, oh, but we do need free speech. I'm concerned about this. Let's buy Twitter. And they said, oh, he might be right wing. I don't think he started out right wing, but then like the more that you use the government against him, the more right wing he became. So you get to the point now where he's like, you know, practically running a sweepstakes scam to increase Republican registrations in swing states. Like, I think he's covering himself by announcing he may be selling. Did he say that? I didn't hear him say that he may be selling X. You know what? It seems to me on X, it's kind of weird because, you know, when it happened, a lot of people had a lot of opinions about what was going to happen to X afterwards. And I kind of feel like that everybody was kind of right and kind of wrong. Like, he reduced the head count at Twitter and the website still works fine. It's still fine. So, you know, this idea that he was like going to completely destroy the website and they wouldn't even be able to keep it going anymore, that was definitely wrong. They were definitely incorrect about it. But at the same time, he has not been able to get the advertising. And part of it is kind of like, well, there are political reasons and stuff, but I think that there's also a business case here. Like, if I was really getting better advertising and better engagement and numbers and everything off of my advertising on Twitter, I don't care. I'm going to put it on there, right? If it was really more effective to advertise on X than anywhere else, then people would do it. But the reality is that the advertising on Twitter doesn't get you very much. And, you know, making those kind of key relationships with advertisers and all of the work involved in that really is a big part of that business that they've screwed up. So if Elon Musk were to sell X, and as long as the person that they sold it to made an agreement that they would maintain free speech of some sort, maybe selling it would be a good thing for it if they were able to sell it to somebody that was able to fix the advertising stuff. Morgan K, I think the format on Twitter sucks for ad. Yeah, I kind of do too. Like, I'm kind of questioning if X will ever actually have that good of advertising. It kind of does seem to me to be something that's like, you need, it's almost like a public utility, you know? But maybe we'll get that. I mean, there's been the Blue Sky thing and there's Threads, and both of those platforms are going okay. Like, I don't think that they're going to shut down or anything. I don't think that they replace Twitter for me, but they seem like they're okay and that they're reasonable competition. I don't know. Okay, cool. Oh, it's the top of the hour. I was like, am I supposed to be doing something at the moment? Yeah, I guess it's time to shut it down, guys. I will still be out there on Discord, so you got questions. We'll be hanging out in Discord, both the free one and the paid $3 Discord. So, tomorrow morning should be fun. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.